here in front of Andrew's Wagyu Sussex Cross cattle.
Correct.
And I just really wanted to know a bit more about the farm, really. And how long have you been farming here at Trenchmore?
Well, we've been farming here for 8 years. We bought a farm that had been farmed as an arable farm intensively for a long time, but by a farmer who didn't live on the farm. He lived quite a few miles away. And so in that situation, it's very hard to justify bringing dung or anything back and improving the fertility of the soil. So the soil was rather degraded and run down, and we've been trying to regenerate the soil. We do that by being a mixed farm. Beef gets quite a bit of flack in the press at times, but a small mixed farm like this with a high welfare herd can actually be very sustainable. And we are definitely increasing the levels of carbon in the soil, capturing carbon and putting it into the soil through having cattle on the farm. So we do still grow a bit of arable. We need straw to bed the cows, and we are more and more a grassland farm with a couple of fields of arable crop.
It's quite unusual, the Wagyu Cross cattle, isn't it? And I think you're the only people I know in this area. So
yeah.
What made you choose that breeding?
When we set out, we were in a very unusual position for farmers. We had a blank sheet of paper. We were coming to farm a farm, but we had no livestock of our own, and we could make a choice. And we wanted to try and choose a breed that we thought would be possible to do in a high welfare and sustainable way, but that would be suited to the neighbourhood. When you're a farmer, you have to start with the context of where you are and what the land you're on is like. And this is heavy clay. We're on the low weald here. It's very difficult land to work. When it's dry, it's like bricks. When it's wet, it's like grease. And there's a very narrow period in between when it's workable, which is why it's so difficult to grow arable on it. But it does grow very good grass. And the other thing that's interesting about this area is that although the fields are small and they have high hedges and it's very heavily wooded, which might not make for the most economic farming, it does have a large community of people who are interested and keen to buy locally and to buy good produce. So we wanted to simply make the best beef that we could possibly produce, and to do it in the most sustainable and high welfare way that we could. And we spent quite a lot of time looking around, and we came across the Wagyu breed. Wagyu beef is very different to the European cattle that you're more familiar with. The continental cattle tend to be very muscly cattle, but they don't carry a lot of fat, they don't have a lot of flavour in them. And the domestic cattle, they tend to run the other way and go very fatty very quickly. The Wagyu is a slow growing breed. It takes quite a long time to reach maturity, and whilst it's growing it starts to lay down fat within the muscle rather than on the back and on the hind quarters like traditional cattle breeds. And that fat is a different type of fat. Genetically they just develop differently, and the fat is a low melting point fat, which means that when you come to eat it, it tastes juicy and tender because you're actually basting the meat from the inside as you cook it. The Wagyu meat does have its own particular soft, sweet flavour and nature, and once we discovered that set us on the journey of trying to produce Wagyu beef. We wanted to do a cross rather than a pure. We wanted to use the local domestic breed, which is the Sussex, to cross it, partly because crossbreeds are healthier and partly because actually the meat on a pure blood Wagyu can be very fatty, and we felt that people around here would prefer something that was a kind of an in-between, a hybrid, which is what we produce with the cross.
I know that you've traditionally always sold your meat primarily to the hospitality sector. But now COVID came along and changed all that.
Yes.
And I know that you did some, quick thinking and started selling directly to people. And has that been successful?
It's been fantastically rewarding in a way. We didn't know how it would go. When the lockdown started, we had carcasses in the fridge with customers in the hospitality sector. Obviously all those customers had to turn around and say, we can't take the beef that we've ordered, and so we had to think quite quickly about what to do. We tried selling some to butchers. We have subsequently sold quite a few to butchers, but initially they didn't know what was going to come round the corner either, and as it turned out they've been fantastically busy and been supported by local people, but at the time they were very uncertain about it. And because Wagyu is a premium product at a premium price, it's slow growing, it takes longer to produce, and the genetics are expensive. That means the meat is a bit more expensive than the local stuff. We decided we'd try and see if people locally wanted to try it, and we opened an online shop at the Trenchmore website, and enables people to pre-order and then come and collect the following week. We will also do deliveries with a minimum order size, and in combination those things have been much more successful and rewarding than we thought they possibly could, and we've been very grateful to the local people for supporting us. I think one of the great privileges about doing it as well is that we've actually been able to meet our customers, and a lot of farmers never get that. If you sell your beef to the supermarket, then you load them all in a truck one day and they've gone, and you never hear any feedback from people about what the meat was like and how they cooked it and how it went and what people thought of it, whereas we have a direct feedback loop, if you like, and people who are coming time and again to buy from us tell us, we really enjoyed that and we cooked it this way and we did it differently, and it's very rewarding to actually get that feedback. And I consider it a bit of a privilege, to be honest. I think a lot of farmers miss out on that, and it's been great for us.
Now things are beginning to open up again. Are you going to continue selling directly again, do you think?
Yes, we are going to continue. I mean, the online shop is still open. We find that when we put a new quantity of meat on it, we have to pre-set how much there is available, and it very quickly sells out, particularly the steaks, obviously, because people love the Wagyu steaks as they are so tender and juicy, but also burgers and braising beef just fly. So actually we've discovered that there's enough demand from local people to come in, and they're not buying every week, but they're buying regularly and coming time and again. So we're hoping to continue as long as we can. And it's been great to bring people on the farm and show them around and let them see what we do.
Yes, I'm sure it must be really interesting for consumers too, who are actually connecting what they're eating with who's producing it and why you're producing it, how you do, and also they can see what a wonderful place it is, and that the cows seem extremely happy.
Thank you.
They've been very content, gently mooing in the background, and it's absolutely lovely to see.
Thank you. We also sell cider. We make cider on the farm. We have a traditional orchard of cider varieties which we use to make our cider, and we sell it filtered and unfiltered in bottles and cans on tap. You can find it in the pubs around here, but you can also buy it from the farm. And recently I'm very keen to encourage people to come and see the farm, so we have a walk around the farm. If people want to come and pick up meat and buy cider and drink cider here, they can. We have a license for that, and they can walk around the farm and have a look around by themselves with their family, or they can come on a Friday evening when we do a picnic, and sometimes at the moment Tom Kemble, who's one of the local chefs from South Lodge Hotel, he started doing sourdough pizzas on a Friday night, so when people come they can pre-order a pizza, sit in the orchard, eat their pizza, drink a pint of cider, and then take their beef home afterwards. So it's a lovely way of
it's a very
involving
sociable
everybody.
And brings the whole community together as
Yeah,
well.
it's been
I was
great.
talking to your daughter Rachel about the cider, and she told me this great story about after the pressing of, when you're pressing the apples, the is it pomace it's
Yes.
called, it's the sort of mush that is left, you feed it to the cows, and that's what gave it the name.
The first time I fed a bucket full, they were very suspicious. They sniffed it from a distance and they weren't sure at all. So I just tipped it on the ground and walked away, and I came back about an hour later with another bucket full. They blooming well chased me across the field for it. They were so keen. So that's where the name Silly Moo came from. And that is really part of our whole ethos, is to try and reuse everything. We try and feed sustainably, so we reuse the apple pomace, we feed it to the cows, we feed brewer's grains, we feed linseed flakes which come out of pressing linseed for oil, we feed wheat bran which is extracted by the bakers to make bread. So they're all byproducts. We don't feed anything that is a human food that humans could eat.
Andrew, thank you so much for sharing some of your stories with us and showing us and telling us about your fantastic beef products, and also how you farm and how you care about it all so much. So just thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, and you're very welcome anytime.